thing is, if you're gonna, you know, to other students, to other kids, I mean, you just have to strive to be the best.
Yeah.
And then understand your limitations. Don't let it get you down if you don't succeed. Like I said, I don't like to fail, but it doesn't mean I haven't failed before. Right? But you just have to need how to manage it. But you have to always strive to be the best, whether you become there or not. It's a different story.
Well, that's very good. You have given us a lot of, not only us, but the potential students, and especially Indonesian students, to when they listen to this.
But I think also if for instance if the government can't build up their own infrastructure, right? The thing is that they should give more opportunity for students to go outside. I think deep inside, I know that there are these issues, okay? There are these issues where people worry about brain drain, all that stuff. That was a big thing. Even India, they were concerned about sending all their students, and then students will stay here and not go back. Yeah, there's going to be a percentage that are like that. But I would say the reward in the end and in the long run, it's going to be way better off. I think people will still come back. I mean, look at India now. Right? India now is almost a prime example of showing, you know, all their students that have gone outside, they come back. But I think India gives them that opportunity when they come back. And Indonesia needs to be able to do that.
Okay. Well, if you don't mind, I would like to come back to the earlier about this, when you explained about the class about Indonesia. I have done just a little research about the Indonesian. If I'm not mistaken, they have quite a number of satellites up there, right? And if I'm not mistaken, they call it Palapa. They have Palapa 1, Palapa 2, and...
It's more than that now.
It's more, I believe, right? Oh, it's more. So what happened with that? I'm going to say, can you explain a little bit why Indonesia always asks some other country to launch the satellite? And number one. Number two is about, now they have so many satellites, and they rent it out to others, and they make other countries benefit from Indonesian satellite.
Well,
but not the Indonesian.
Well, I mean that's sort of my understanding of it also as well. I mean, yeah. So Indonesia has a lot of satellites that are Palapa satellites. I mean, and I know that when I visited Germany, that was sort of a sense of pride when I went and saw, you know, on the chart of the Orion rockets that were used to launch. There's a lot. They list every single satellite that they've launched as an entity. The European Space Agency.
And Indonesia
has quite a bit of it. I mean, I've almost at that time when I went, definitely it was the only Southeast Asian countries that had satellites that are launched. So you sit there and there is a sense of pride that goes through. But then on the other hand, a lot of those satellites do not necessarily, at least as far as I understand, from the fact that, you know, people complain about, let's say, the internet access or things like that, which is part of the aspects of what I mean by infrastructure.
I see.
So it's part of the stuff that does not get, and that also becomes sort of a sore spot in terms of the sense of pride. It's because my advisor, Professor Tamisuka, who advised me in my PhD, recently, a couple of years ago, it was interesting to note that there was a conference in Bali, and he went. It was the first time that he visited Indonesia as an advisor. And he loved it all. It was all very nice, everything culturally. The only thing he complained about was the internet was extremely slow. And he complained about it. He couldn't understand why was the internet so slow. And that's an important factor, okay, because the internet now is the sole source of pretty much information transfer. Okay, and information is power. So what can I do? I can't explain to them. How would you sit there and explain to them that Indonesia was one of the earliest ones to have satellites?
Right.
They have, at the time that I went to Germany, I think they were already launching number 9. So there's like 9 of them. I think it's more than 6. I think so. So it's quite a bit that they have. And then I sit there and go, there's absolutely no excuse, right, with that type of technology. And yes, now, I don't know how the internals are all working. Yeah, maybe, you know, the wisdom of the government show that Indonesia needs or can benefit more from the money that they get from leasing these out, I mean, I don't know. That, you know, I'm outside, so I can't really know or comment about that kind of aspect, but hopefully, that is the case. But there's also no excuse, because the internet today is really the source of information, right? And information is essentially power, right? So they need that. So that means that if the internet is slow to everybody, that means the masses aren't benefit from that.
That's
from
correct.
Technology.
That's
now,
correct.
I can only imagine what, you know, education is like. I mean, here, yeah, same thing. All these computers, these are all linked outside. I rely on the internet for students to get information, almost, you know, without even stating it. That's a given known. I actually have to even work around it, right? So so again, and then the teaching style becomes different, because I have to sit there and say, look, you don't have to create things that are on your own. The skill set is for you to find the information and use it, right? So because I know they're going to use the internet, so why fight it? So the only caveat that I tell them is that if you do get some example from the internet that you can use for your project, go ahead and use it. It doesn't matter. But give credit where it's due. Say that you got it from the internet. So you're not stealing, because I'm not going to advocate that,
Yeah.
right? Because that's also part of the learning process. I mean, there's not going to be an example out there that's exactly what they're doing, unless they're going to plan to copy that project. But usually the bits and pieces that they have to learn about that to adopt it to what they're using. So that's part of the learning process.
Yeah. So this Palapa satellite, Indonesian owned many. I even was surprised to hear that at least 9.
I think so.
Okay, and it's not an excuse then to have a slow internet access.
Well, I wouldn't think so, but
because the fact of the matter, it is now. It is slow until today.
Well, okay, then I mean that's something that they have to
overcome.
Look at
and overcome. Okay.
I mean, it's not. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and you mentioned about launching. Is that because in this world we don't have too many launching facilities?
Well, there's no launch site. So okay, that's just something that, you know. Again, I'm sure there's, you know, I'm no rocket scientist, so, but you know, these are things that just to give you an idea of what are some of the stuff that I think about, and a lot of it indirectly always leads to Indonesia. What is possible now is a different story, right? It's because I'm always. That's just sort of things that I say to say that, you know, I'm constantly thinking about Indonesia. The thing is, it's not. So one of the things is, if you notice, okay, where rockets are being launched, even in the United States, okay, they make an effort to launch. Their launch site is in Florida, okay, and it's actually in almost the southernmost tip of Florida, and that's why. Why are they doing that? Why do they do that? They do that because they want to get as close as possible to the equator. Because if you launch from the equator, right, it's less fuel, right? Because the Earth is sort of oblong, right? It's not perfectly round, so it's oblong. So the equator is furthest out of anywhere else, and it's also sensing the largest centripetal acceleration. So it's natural, if there is the infrastructure to build a launch pad on the equator, you would benefit the most, right? And whereas Indonesia, it's right on the equator, right? Or there is this land area that's on the equators. There's only a few places that have land mass on the equator, right? There's Indonesia, there's South America, right? Brazil has, right? Ecuador, Brazil, right, has it, and then Africa. Okay, so the two places politically is probably not really all that desirable. But Indonesia, why not?
Yeah, you're right.
Right. So that's these are the thoughts. There's a lot of things. So things like, for instance, I've even offered it before when I made the presentation. When I went to Indonesia and I made the presentation, during that time, knowing that I had to go, I went up and came up with an idea for a robot.
Do you mean to say you gave the presentation to the government institutions or the private institutions?
Not the